The Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on our agenda is we'd like to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at those? Okay. I need a second. All right, thank you. And I'd like to just take a moment to honor Larry. So if we can have a moment of silence here. I can't lie, it was hard coming in here today, knowing I wouldn't see his face. So if we could just take a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you. All right, Andy is going to give us our financial reports today. Andy?
Thank you. We'll start on the top of the agenda here, Natalie. We'll just go to page 1, please. Just scroll up. There we go. All right, thank you. Next page. Great. So as usual, we'll go over our revenues, expenses, some of the key underlying drivers, and talk a little bit about our detailed P&L. Next page. All right. So in terms of our passenger revenue, you can see on the chart, we're back to a kind of normal order of operations. If you remember at the end of the school year, we had some true-up expenses associated with the CPS contract, and you see that negative number back in June. Obviously, we didn't have any school or contracting exposure in July with respect to students, and now in August, we're starting the school year at, again, a typical clip here. We had very strong passenger revenue at $1.1 million, and then we're starting to see the first couple weeks of school come in at $115,000, and access revenue was strong as well. August is a month with no holidays, no holiday service, and a large number of weekdays, work days, so we had strong ridership and revenue for the month. Next page, please. From an expense perspective, you can see our expense profile is consistent with the last quarter. Nothing really significant to note, and we'll cover the main drivers in the next slide. So from a total revenue perspective, we have $118.3 million in total revenue, which is favorable to budget by $1.2 million. From the expense side, we were also favorable to budget by about $550,000. You put those two things together, our monthly surplus came in at $5.7 million, which was favorable to budget by $1.8. I mentioned before, ridership was $1.1 million, which exceeded our budgeted estimate for the month. And we are on track and over budget, exceeding our budget for ridership for the year. On the revenue side, again, some highlights. Total operating budget was $1.6 million to the favorable. Non-transportation, $823,000. That continued to report favorable as a result of our investment portfolio. Again, we have a significant amount in reserve, and that is generating a significant amount of revenue on a monthly basis for the organization. Again, kind of consistent with what we've seen over the first 7 months of the fiscal year. County sales tax came in at $10.1 million, favorable to budget by $405,000. If you remember, throughout the year, we've had some months where we've been favorable and some months where we've been slightly unfavorable to the UC projections. Year to date, we're still in the black with respect to county sales tax revenue, which is a good sign. federal grants are on budget. On the expense side, wages and fringes are essentially right on plan. Consistent with a couple other months in this fiscal year, we've seen a little bit of unfavorability with respect to fuel, about $54,000. And then parts and supplies continues to run ahead of budget. The supply chain has still not worked itself out, and we're still paying more for parts than we had budgeted, which again is consistent with previous months' reporting. All other favorable to budget by 644. Just like last month, a lot of this has to do with capitalization of outside services that are part of the BRT project. That's essentially it. If there are any other questions or if we want to look at the detailed P&L sheet, I'm happy to take any questions that you all have. Thank you, Rod.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Our ridership up 31%, our revenue up
Yes.
way lower than that. I know there was the 10 or 12% for the APCs, but I feel like we still got to get a tighter handle on revenue per ride, right?
Correct.
So somehow we're not capturing that quite right.
That's a great observation. You'll notice that we had ridership up by 30-some% and passenger revenue up by around 10%.
Yeah.
So those two things are projected independently.
Right.
Ridership is seasonal in nature. Revenue is also seasonal in nature, but we have contract revenue that slots in that isn't a one-to-one with ridership, especially CPS contract revenue.
Yeah.
So I think that our plan for 24 is to get a tighter link between those two figures. Essentially, August was pretty well underestimated with respect to ridership. Year to date, we're pretty close to budget. But August was you can see budget was only 776,000 regular riders, which is a pretty low month in terms of budgeted ridership.
Yeah. I know the regular fares and the CPS fares are separated on here too. So, but I think it's. Correct. I know I've talked to Larry about it before. We haven't really done a great job of saying what's our revenue per ride expected because they're independent. I think if we get those tighter, we'll see if we're selling what we think we're selling.
Agreed.
The other one, the 9.4 for wages and benefits is on budget, but well above last month. Is that because of extra headcount we filled roles? Is that?
Well, the other piece is that you have, if we go back to the expense profile here on page 5, Natalie, I mentioned before, August has the most number of weekdays, I think, of any month. And it doesn't seem like a significant piece, but when you're talking about the difference between one extra weekday compared to a Sunday or a holiday, that drives 3 or 4% expense.
And the other one, I know Pete always asks why is all other so big, that maybe we should break that into some of its subcomponents.
Yeah, we can do that. Again,
Questions? I wake up with that. Exactly.
yes. Yeah, and again, a lot of those expenses and all other have to do with consulting services for BRT.
Yeah, I just know all others are huge. It's 20% of our spend.
That's exactly right. And if we think about 2024 and our project development expenses associated with BRT, we can look into that. Great.
This crosses over to ops, but how confident are we in our numbers with all the technology we've installed, the APCs, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think our planning and development folks can talk about APC data. Or you're talking about ridership data.
How accurate is that?
Yes. So we have to go through a process with the National Transit Database, the NTD, to calibrate and certify the accuracy of those APCs. I believe that process has been complete. I don't know, Colette, if you have any updates on that front.
Yes, so that process, once we acquire new APCs technology, per FTA rules, is they have to be certified so that we can provide these numbers to the NTD, National Transit Database. And it's a pretty rigorous process. You know, statisticians have to be involved in that. That process was completed about a year ago, and usually the requirement is the APC counts have to be less than 5% of the manual counts. So you're having people count on board the bus and comparing those to the APC counts trip by trip, and the difference has to be less than 5%. In our case, I think it was like 3% off. So the counts from the APCs are pretty accurate.
So we're confident. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I could just add briefly to that, there are 2 other data points that we still receive that are not part of our official ridership report. That says we still receive the old GFI data, right? And we're seeing that trend in the same direction. And then we also see reports from the transit app, in terms of number of uses, number of downloads, number of clicks, and all those things. And that is also trending consistent with our APC data. So we're very confident that our ridership number is strong.
And head in the right direction.
Good.
Okay. Move on to the investment report. Again, this report, very similar to what we've seen in previous months. It's an interesting situation where our overnight account is bringing back a higher yield than some of the longer term investments. You can see that we are achieving a yield of about 4.8%. Our current security net at the end of August was 183.9 million. When you go to the bottom half of the page, you'll see, consistent with previous months, the obligations for both BRT, local match for capital projects, and rainy day expenses are there, projecting year end of a surplus of around $47 million. Happy to take any questions on the investment summary. Okay.
So what if we ought to think about moving the 2 months operating reserve higher, right? So maybe a discussion for future month, but I feel like, all the government money is going away, right? And we still would have run a brief, small surplus this month, but it seems like that might be smart to move that to 3 months, but, discussion for the group, right?
We had talked about that a couple months ago.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happening behind the scenes is we're looking into our current list of securities and CDs and our longer term investments, and there may be opportunities, given the high interest rate, to reallocate some of those, and we might even after the net of penalty receive a higher return.
Yeah.
So we're looking into that right now with our consultant. Anything else on that front? We have 2 action items relative to that. The first, I guess, is the approval of the investment funds report. This is item number 4. We can see here, if you go to page 1, Natalie, this is just the report specifically of that fund, again, consistent with the summary, 183.9 million. And then on page 2 is the TIF investment summary as well. And you see that coming in at 94.8. Again, minor changes, all in the positive direction. You can see the return has moved from 4.6 to 4.7, consistent with previous months' reporting. So I believe, Madam Chair, will need a motion for the approval of these investment funds reports.
I'd like to go ahead and approve the investment fund report. Second. I need all in favor?
Mhm.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Go ahead and pass.
Can I ask one addition to this report? I think it would be great to have something that just is what are our obligations, so that 94 is sitting there, but we've committed to
Yep.
whatever it is, $80-some million to spend or something.
Yep.
I'm still amazed how little we're paying out for how much we've approved.
Yes.
But
And yeah, as Haled reported last month, that's starting to pick up.
yeah, that's not just money for us to play with,
Let me move on.
despite what Dan wants to do.
Okay. Item number 5 is a proposed schedule. So on page 2 of this report, actually, 5.1 is the schedule. This schedule follows our current operating plan for the year, where we're having Finance Committee, Planning and Ops at 8:30 and 9 respectively, and then the ad hocs on the following Thursday, and the board meeting switching from morning to evening throughout the course of the year. What's happened in the past is the board has taken action on this so that we can then publish our set of meetings. If you all want to make adjustments to this now or at any time in the future, you can do that through motion of this committee. So this is for 2024 for your consideration.
Thank you.
We'll need a motion and action on this item.
No, well, Dan was looking at me. you know, the question always comes up is 8:30 the right time to start?
Yep.
Right, and then the ad hoc committees, you know, sometimes we try to have them on the same day, and then the meetings last till noon, and nobody's left by the end. But I know it's a little bit inconvenient to have it on a couple days a week, so those are the discussion items usually. I would love to see us really make sure we have some of these other meetings, particularly the paratransit discussion. I know, you know, I was talking to Andy earlier that, you know, there's some big decisions for us to make there if we want to change what we do in that work rather than just to provide the minimum required by the federal government, right? I had somebody talk to me about a young lady that lives in Marymount, works at the museum center, and her average ride home is an hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes, and we're allowed to take 2 hours to make these rides. So you have somebody that's, you know, wheelchair bound, you know, stuck with the 3 or 4 hours of commuting a day is not a great service. It meets what we've approved, but I think having those discussions more specifically about paratransit would be beneficial because we kind of tend not to get there. So,
And I believe we're on the calendar for October. So kind of what I'm hearing is that we'll have a October paratransit committee meeting.
I think that's what I would like.
Yeah.
Andy, two of these dates, January 23rd and March 26th have 9 a.m. listed. That's a typo.
Oh, that's a good point. We will clean that up. The board meetings themselves should be 9 a.m.
Yeah.
for the remainder of the calendar year. We can approve that as amended if that is a friendly amendment.
So everything in the final column should be 9, not 8.
It should be 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Correct.
Okay.
Good catch.
You know we're going the other direction.
Oh, yeah, no.
Do we want to do it at 9 or do we want to do it at 8:30? I was delighted to see the 8:30 on there.
It took us 45 minutes to get there.
Oh, okay.
Having people like 8:30 is good, but
Yeah, okay. Both are fine as long as people are showing up and having the discussions. And I think that's the background behind the Thursday ad hoc meetings, that we can focus on them, give them attention.
Yep.
And it hurts a little bit, but I think it's worthwhile.
I can make a motion to approve the meeting schedule with that adjustment of 9 a.m. Board meeting start.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Get an aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Good try, Natalie, that are sneaking those early meetings later in the year. I like it.
All right, we'll go ahead and move this.
Rod just pays attention to start times.
I'm surprised I missed
I was
that.
paying attention to detail.
That's right, you do.
He was trying to help me out.
That was the big one.
Okay, next we have healthcare plan. Vicki?
So good morning, everyone. My name's Vicki Barker, and I'm the Director of Human Resources, and I'm here to present our healthcare plan for 2023-2024. I also have Dacre Monroe, who some of you are familiar with from Hub Haran, our broker. So if you have any questions, I'll probably be asking Dacre to assist me with those questions. So again, welcome. First on our agenda, we're going to talk about the 2022-2023 update. We'll take a look at our medical plan performance. We'll talk about new and continued healthcare initiatives. And then EMS, Enrollment Management Services, that's our provider that helps us really control the cost of claims. For 2024, we'll look at our medical renewal, our projection, our stop-loss renewal, United Healthcare features, employee contribution impact, the medical recommendation, the dental recommendation, and of course our healthcare calendar. Next slide. Next slide. So for 2022, we had a really great year. Our plan ran 94.2% of the projected, resulting in a $743,000 surplus. Now 2023 has not been that great of a year. It ran 111% above budget, above projections, and that was mainly due to an increased cost of some high-cost claims in the range of $150,000 to $300,000. Next slide. New in 2024, we surveyed all of our employees, and the number one benefit that they wanted to see was long-term disability. So we'll be rolling that out in 2024. That will be a benefit that the employee will pay for 100%. We will continue our health engagement nurse for 2024, the Real Appeal weight loss program, which we've seen great success there, our monthly engagement campaigns, our contract with Enrollment Management Services, our nicotine cessation program, the biometric screening, and the annual preventive physical, which allow our employees to get a discounted rate on their premiums, flu shots, mammography, and of course our employee assistance program. EMS. EMS works directly with our members on a proactive basis by reporting that we provide to them and by participating in our new hire orientation. Their whole goal is to help our employees find alternative insurance outside of Metro, and the impact is tremendous. When we take a look at the cost of claims reduction and what we pay in terms of the fee and the opt-out credits, because our employees do receive money if they don't take our insurance, the ROI is 237%. So it's a significant partnership that we have with EMS. Next slide. Next. So this is the total cost summary. We take a look at the budget, the projection for 2023, and then our budget for 2024. As I mentioned earlier, we saw a significant increase in some high-cost claims, probably about 6 or 7 high-cost claims that took us over for a total increase of the 2023 projection to the 2024 budget of 9.7%. Next slide. So looking at this in a little bit more detail, we saw a per cost per employee increase to our budget, and it's going to be $18,829. Again, that 9.7% increase, total cost increase. Our stop loss renewal with United Healthcare, we're renewing at about 20.9%. This is an industry standard, and it is in line with the fact that we saw a lot of high cost claims this year. There will be no lasers that impact our cost. Financial guardrails. When we started this relationship with UHC, they put a plan in place called the Aggregate Share Program, whereby they split our claims risk at 50-50 once we hit our projection. They continued that for 2 years, but they will not continue that in 2024. So they were really aggressive to get our business early on. And that's, somewhat typical when you're trying to get new business, but that will not continue in 2024. We will see some monies hopefully coming back if we continue to trend in 2023 as a result of that aggregate share program. United Healthcare, our engagement nurse, that's Allison Connors. She's done a phenomenal job here. Her focus areas are UHC resources, making sure that people understand what our benefits are, what our tools are like, appropriate care setting. She focuses on chronic disease management, focusing on hypertension, diabetes, and musculoskeletal. Some of her key metrics, she has had 361 individual sessions with 171 unique employees, and that is all spread across all of our locations, so she hits every single location. Allison makes it a point to attend every employee event that we have. I mean, she was at Kings Island Day, she's at our safety fairs, she's at our benefits fairs. She takes every opportunity to engage with employees and their families, and we're seeing the impact with all that education. The cost for Allison in 2022, the total cost was $165,000, which UHC absorbed that cost in order to be a real competitive bid for us. And then in 2023, they covered $60,000, and we are paying the remainder $105,000. Thank you. Medical recommendations. So based on the expected cost and the minimal disruption impact and the maximum projected costs and other features, we are recommending that we renew our healthcare with United Healthcare for medical, pharmacy, stop-loss administration. Dental care coverage. This worked out really well for us. We are going to remain, the recommendation is to remain with Dental Care Plus. We did see that our budget was a negative 6.8%, and our projection a negative 4.9%. So the recommendation is going to be to renew with Dental Care Plus. Our healthcare calendar, next week, if you all approve, the recommendation going forward will be board approval on next week's meeting. Our biometric screenings will be kick off in October and run through November. Open enrollment begins October 9th. And then our preventive health and physical deadline is December 1st, with the new benefits beginning January 1, 2024. Thank you. Any questions?
Going back to the long-term disability,
Mm-hmm.
that was the number one issue.
Number one, request, right. We surveyed all of our employees and asked them what kinds of benefits they wanted, pet insurance, long-term disability, and a number of other ones. And that was one of the ones they said, hey, we'd like to see that.
They're paying 100%.
Correct. Yeah,
They just wanted Metro to find the best program for them.
correct.
Healthcare nurse.
Yes.
This is last year was the first year for that?
This is 2 years. Yeah, we started.
2022.
2022? Okay, 2022, yeah.
Is this the first year that SORTA has subsidized the 105,000 of that?
Yes, yes. The first year they paid for it for free, and so this year we're subsidizing it.
Did you know that?
Yes, yeah,
And I don't remember, I saw that there's a 4% enrollment decrease.
correct.
But we have hiring going up, so I'm just curious to know where you guys found the decrease pretty well.
It's a good question.
EMS, the services that EMS provide is really around, as you know, helping the employees find additional or other options for healthcare, be it Medicare, depending on their age, or if they want to go with their spouse's plan. So we're seeing that they have had a significant increase in meeting with employees to see what are your other options for healthcare. And so that's where we're seeing some of our decrease coming through.
Yeah, definitely the Medicare's.
Without the employees suffering any less care or anything like that.
Because they are paid opt-out dollars significant, so they've got the option to go with a spouse's plan or take Medicare. On a family side, you get significant dollars, and just for an individual, you do as well. So some of them would rather take the cash.
I just want to compliment you. It was a really nice report on the healthcare, health insurance, especially the hours for the nurse. I think it was really helpful for us to see because that cost is coming on. I've got a softball question for the broker. So now that you've been acquired by an outside firm, let us know how your resources have expanded because of that acquisition.
Hi, Rob Daker. We were about 3 months ago. We were acquired. About 3 months ago, we were acquired by a company called Hub International. So they are the fifth largest broker in kind of North America. Our resources, I say regionally, from your team, have remained unchanged locally. So I'm not going anywhere. You have the same kind of team underneath you. Nationally, it changes things significantly in terms of the resources available. So while we might have access to information for transit authorities locally, that expands out nationally to additional benchmarking, population analysis, and it's going to bring the scope of our services will expand in terms of different expertise areas around the country. So we are one of many hubs in the region and in the United States, and so we're excited to be able to bring some of those resources to you. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Good.
You were setting them up for the future.
So thank you. So the action item that we have here is a request to approve our healthcare for 2024.
Thank you. Any other questions in regards to the healthcare plan? No? Yeah? Maybe? You'll wait? Okay. All right. I'd like to go ahead and approve the healthcare plan. Can I get a second? Got a second? Do we need to roll call this one, or? Is this a roll call? Okay. No?
Is it a roll call?
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, go ahead and pass. All right, any new business?
Madam Chair, if I might, I just wanted, on behalf of the staff, to say a couple words about Larry Pinkleton and his impact on the organization. It's amazing the amount of work that he was able to do in the year and a half that he was here. He has set us a very clear vision in terms of how the financial program should work here at SORTA, set us up for success in terms of the 2024 budget process, amongst all the other impacts that he's had on our organization. It's been truly amazing gift to us to be in this position. And I wanted to recognize his staff, Kevin, Julie, Norman, Mary. They have stepped up and made sure that we're fulfilling that vision. They've been working very hard to do so with outstanding collaboration and teamwork. And that's why we're able to present today all the information that you're very used to seeing, and we're very confident in our process and program because of their outstanding work. So I just wanted to thank them for their energy and effort through what was and what is a very difficult time. So just appreciate the opportunity to make the comment.
Thank you.
And Sonia might mention, just because this is Finance Committee on that same subject, I know a lot of you were at the services on Saturday, and a lot of you are very close with Larry. His fraternity brothers and friends were very tight they were a very tight group. So on the way out, the funeral home director, which is one of his brothers, asked that I bring some of these to the meeting. So these are the programs that were there that day. So if anybody would want a copy of them, that was the purpose of him handing these out. So if anybody wanted to see it, it's quite a nice write-up for Larry. So that's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. All right, there's no other new business. We'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
And I think we can move right into planning and ops. If anybody needs a short break, please take it. And that was a great ceremony for Larry. And I encourage anybody to read what Dan brought today and learn maybe a few things we didn't know about Larry. His love of historic muscle cars and motorcycles and such. My conversations with him where he was teaching me about finance and showing his brilliance and his plans, these cars didn't come up. And it was nice to learn a little bit more about him and further my respect. I don't know, just amazed at what a great person Larry was. So he will be missed. So we'll move on to, the minutes. I hope everybody's been able to see the minutes for planning and ops. I move passage. Can I get a second? Okay. All in favor of passing the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed, say left. All right, the minutes passed. Sorry, I didn't mean to get upset about Larry. So a little bit. So let's move right on to good news. Brandy?
All right, get that on. I am standing in this morning for our COO, John Ravazio, who, along with our CEO, Daryl Haley, is at the Ohio Public Transit Association Conference, where they are learning and sharing best practices with our fellow peer system. So I look forward to what all they bring back from that conference. So I have the pleasure of sharing with you all the good news that is happening this past month and what's coming up. But first, I'd like to invite our head of HR, Adrienne, to share our Silver Award recipients.
Good morning. So these are our July Silver Award winners for our employees. And so we got Arnold Odom. Arnold is a Bond Hill maintenance employee, and Arnold is being recognized for his valuable resource in the department due to his great technical expertise and being considered a subject matter expert in his area by his colleagues, and always being willing to assist others, including those outside of his shift. So congratulations to Arnold. Next, we have Leadership Employee of the Month, which is Jodonna Miles. Jodonna is a division manager at the Bond Hill location and is being recognized for the outstanding job she has done in managing our clerks. The clerks area of the Bond Hill division and the clerks are really the ones responsible for helping and ensuring that the work gets out on a daily basis. And she's responsible for helping them and making sure that happens. And that she shares her knowledge with the staff, and she's really well engaged and ensure all bus requests are handled accordingly for the Bond Hill location. So congratulations to Jodonna. Queensgate Maintenance Employee of the Month, Pedro Munez Villegas. Pedro consistently performs high work. He is first to clock in and the last to leave. He has no unexcused absences, no disciplinary actions, and he is quite the team player with a great sense of humor, creates a positive attitude at the Queensgate Garage for the maintenance team. So congratulations to Pedro. Next we have Delmas Casey, and he is Bond Hill Operator of the Month. Delmas is being recognized for his knowledge and his responsibilities as an operator. He's highly dependable, works a lot of extra hours and extra shifts. He provides great customer service to all of his customers, internal and external, and is always willing to listen and provide feedback and suggestions. Congratulations to Delmas. Next, we have an Administrative Support Employee of the Month, Keisha Hutzel Kiner. She is a clerk at the Queensgate Division. Keisha's been recognized as an awesome team player, always willing to assist operators and subclerks. She's very proactive and very knowledgeable about her work as a clerk. She's dependable and fills needs often when there is a need to fill other shifts. She's very professional and very willing to share her knowledge and expertise with her team members. And then last, we have Queensgate Operator of the Month, Mark Winfield. Mark is highly dependable, knows his job well. In June, he completed a total of 383 trips as an operator with an impressive OTP of 95.6%. And so he is never received a customer complaint, and inspired by his fellow operators, and he always has a positive attitude in his job. So congratulations to all of the July Silverware Award winners.
And continuing on with awards, we have two of our C-suite leaders, CEO Daryl Haley and COO John Ravazio, who have been selected as C-suite award finalists for the Cincinnati Business Courier C-suite Awards. So we're very proud of them, and we look forward to celebrating them on October 12th. That is the event where they name who the award recipients are. So you'll receive an email here shortly with an invitation if any of you would like to join us for that awards dinner. And more awards. CEO Daryl Haley was also selected as this year's recipient of the New Restra Familia Award by the Ohio Latin Affairs Commission. This award was presented to him in recognition for his commitment to the Latino community, supporting and encouraging, spending his time and investment in this space around our workforce development areas and our community engagement. And so there will be a gala where he will be awarded on October 14th in Columbus. So we certainly would celebrate and congratulate our CEO for that award. Next, we would like to welcome Bill Spraw, who is here today. Please stand, Bill. He is our new Vice President of Operations. He has more than 35 years of transit experience, and about 30 of those right here at Metro. He began his transit career and has served many positions within the Metro family, from maintenance to operations. And so we are thrilled to have him back with us, helping to shape and lead our transit organization into the future. So thank you again, and welcome, Bill. All right. right, so earlier this month, we held an Everybody Rides Metro Partner Appreciation and Open House Breakfast, where we invited current partners as well as potential partners to join us to learn more about ERM, how they could partner with us, and just what the program is doing to help remove the transportation as a barrier for individuals who are utilizing it for job training, healthcare, and other social service opportunities. It was a rainy day, and as rainy days go, despite having about 80 so people who RSVP'd, we were still pleased. They had about 40 of those who showed, and we had really strong engagement with those in attendance, as well as great speakers who our partner agencies shared their personal impact stories and just how their clients were benefiting from this so worthy organization. So we thank Craig for being there and speaking on behalf, as well as the ERM board chair, Aaron Blay. Now I'd like to invite Mike Weil to come up and share about a recent security exercise.
Thanks, Brandy, and good morning, everyone. So on Friday, September 8th, we participated in a full-scale exercise out at the Greater Cincinnati Airport, along with over 600 volunteers and emergency responders. During this exercise, they mocked a disaster on the runway with an airplane where there was luggage and bodies and the whole works. Very theatrical. Metro's role in this year, we connected family members with their loved ones at the triage tents, those who were involved in the accident. So we transported them back and forth. In a real-life emergency, we may be called upon to do as much as transport the walking wounded to local hospitals as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And we would be remiss and once again celebrating the 50 years of service that Metro has provided to our community. And we thank all of you who joined us this past month on Fountain Square for a community birthday party. Turn on the volume there, and if we could restart it, Natalie, so everyone can hear. We have a brief video for you.
Transportation system, and that's going
Thank you. And last but not least, what's not here is I want to let everyone know that this Friday is Car Free Day Cincy, and all Metro service will be free. We are encouraging everyone to leave their cars behind, hop on a bus, hop on a bike, ride the streetcar. However you travel, leave your cars behind and use public transit. So we hope to see you on board. Thank you.
I'm tempted to make a motion that we play that video in every meeting. Absolutely fabulous. I love remembering that event, the history, and all the people involved, and then the leaders from the whole region that showed up and just said great things about what SORTA is doing. Makes you feel good. And thanks for all the other good news too. Let's move right on to the ridership report, Steve.
That's a great video. I wish I could, every time I had a presentation, that video came before, because it just lightens things up. Steve Anderson, I'm filling in for Matt Mormon in the development department, here to talk a little August ridership with you all. The first slide, that's our budget to ridership slide. You'll see that we're well above our projected budget ridership. We're back into the million passenger column after a couple months off during the summer. A couple reasons for this: you have school back in earnest. We're carrying upwards of 9,000 to 10,000 students every day. We are the transportation provider of choice, if you will, for CPS, in addition to folks that are coming back to work more and more. If you've been downtown, you notice it's starting to pick up. So we're well over a million, well over 1.1 million. And on the next slide, you'll continue to see that trend has mirrored what we've done in the last couple of years. And we'd expect that to continue. You have a nice upward slant there, talking about September and October, and then it'll slide a little bit back down, more than likely, with the holidays. Next slide. The breakdown: weekday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're over 40,000 per weekday. That's great. Saturdays took a slight dip compared to July. We're still well above where we were last year, and Sundays have continued to climb. As we've shared with this body before, we continue to invest in our Saturday and Sunday ridership, making those schedules look a little bit more like the weekend or the weekday ridership. So you'll continue to see Sundays and Saturdays inch up there. Next slide. Talking about cost service productivity, that's passengers per hour. We're hitting our threshold of 15.9. We're well above it at 18.2. You'll see that climb as you see the ridership climb, as well as cost recovery for local service. We're a little bit above our KPI. We probably could do a little bit better in that regard. We'll continue to turn over every stone to try to increase ridership, working with our community partners as well. Next slide. Express service productivity. This is a slide that we haven't hit our mark for a while now. We're looking at phase 3 pretty intently of kind of how we do express routes, and we'll continue to bring you all recommendations as well. But you'll see we're just not hitting express service productivity. It's kind of lingered in the 7 range, and our KPI is at 11. So whether the KPI needs to change or some of the express service needs to be maybe reformatted, we'll look at that, as well as phase 3. And then your cost recovery. The slide of cost recovery, there's a caveat there that the way we calculate some of our contract routes, Route 29, 71, some of the other services, they do kind of funnel in at certain times of the year. So it does kind of make the cost recovery look a little more joyous in some months and a little thin in other months.
Who knows what that means, right? So that we're getting, for some of the, goes to the other counties, we're getting reimbursed for those expenses. Right.
Correct. Yeah. On-time performance, we're continuing to see a downward trend on on-time performance. 70% is still an agency standard of solid service. It's not where our KPI is, of course. It's well above 85%. A couple things are happening out there. First of all, we have a spate of new operators. We've been hiring like gangbusters. a lot of your new operators, they're going to be on longer routes, longer time points, more opportunities to pick up passengers, but also more opportunities to maybe not be on time as much. As we continue to train, as we continue to have retraining for some of our mid-tier and veteran operators, we'll see this number go back up. In addition, if you've all driven on Harrison or Glenway, you have a spate of one-way. We're doing road diets in Cincinnati now. The congestion and the construction, that's going to continue as we kind of right-size our streets. And we just have more traffic, because you'll see the access on-time performance also kind of take a nosedive. But we are going to work a lot harder on this, get this number back up to where it is as part of our ongoing initiatives.
Hey, Steve, 2 questions on that. One is, from an operator perspective, there's a cycle, right, where folks sort of get comfortable and sort of start hitting their numbers. How long do you usually take to see that happen? Having never done it and don't know how long it would take me.
I've never done it either, Pete, so that's a question I'm going to punt either to
if there's not a simple answer, that's fine. I just was curious how that cycle goes.
I don't have that information available. I guess we can talk to our operations folks and see if they kind of have a some. Bill has the answer.
New operations folks.
I would say, from my experience, it takes at least 60 days for folks to really start to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because we really want them focusing on safety first.
Yeah, totally.
And so getting comfortable and figuring out how that route works, it takes a bit of time. The other thing that happens is some of those new folks are on the extra board. So that takes even longer because they're moving around on different routes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
And we did a lot of work last year analyzing, the more tenured folks, no matter what route you put them on, have better on-time performance, right? It's really, almost a straight line every place. And so we try to incent some of the more experienced people to take the routes with more passengers. Because you talked about the longer routes and things. How's that working out?
So I think Mr. Ravazio provided a report to us recently on that, and we have seen a shift of more senior operators taking the busier routes because of the premium that was negotiated in the contract. In terms of net effect to bottom line OTP, I don't have that number today, but we have seen movement in that direction. Like Bill mentioned, it's very good. Once you have those veteran operators on the busy routes, they're more able to handle the schedule a lot better. And just from a hiring perspective, and I don't want to speak for Adrian, but we've hired over 100 fixed route operators in the last year. And so you can imagine, of the 500 fixed route operators we have, 20% have been here less than a year and are trying to get their feet under them. So that'll continue to be a struggle for us.
So for those that weren't here, it's interesting, but the more senior operator you are, you get to pick the routes first, right? Yep. So the tendency was I'm going to pick the route that's the least amount of effort. We would all do. So that oftentimes was I'm going to pick the routes with no people. And so we're trying to say, hey, we want to encourage you to take the best drivers to take the most passengers. And so hopefully that's starting to work out. It's one of those, makes sense when you take a step back.
If I may add just one more thing, another reason contributing to that is missed trips. So when you have a seasoned driver who's driving that route every single day, not present, missed trip, now that particular trip is being driven by an inexperienced driver on that particular route, that impacts on-time performance.
Go ahead. I was gonna move off this topic, so yeah.
No, go.
I'll wait until we're done with this.
Okay, and I was actually going to talk about this later, but it seems to fit in now too, and this is going to be a story. So on Saturday, I had the pleasure of meeting an access operator while I was out doing errands, and we got talking in the store and ended up talking for a long time. And I learned many interesting things, and she was a delightful person. Miss Stephanie, I would just like to give her a shout out because she was so proud of her decades of service with Metro. But one of the things that she had an interesting observation that's related to this topic, which is, she kept saying that I learned with paper and pen. I learned how to get around with paper and pen, and the young people coming up, they, don't know the city very well, and probably just because they, the Google Maps tells them where to go all the time, and they just don't know how to get around as much. And so when there are detours or delays, she knows multiple ways to get around, and she was saying that the younger people just don't know that as much. And so with respect to this conversation, I wonder, like how much of that training, contributes the I don't know, as we get more technical, does that make it harder to move around the city for some of the newer operators? So anyway, I could share many more things about the conversation with Miss Stephanie, but this was slightly related, so I'll share that. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's interesting. My wife, who's not from here, says that she can't believe the number of streets I don't know. And she knows all the streets, and I don't know any of them. But I just get around by feel, I've probably a very basic question. So the experience of the operators, I'm sure, is a big part of this, it sounds like. And the road diets, I would imagine, and some of these routes have to be. With the uptick in ridership, if you onboard a number of passengers, say 5 to 10 at one time versus one, how does that affect this? The operators. I don't understand what the time is to get on a bus and the time of boarding.
Yeah.
And are there any measures?
Yeah, and that's a very good question, because the way schedules are built, I mean, there's so much information that's taken into consideration to build the schedules. Just to simplify it, what we call dwell time is how long a bus stops at a bus stop to load people, or for people to alight. Could be 15 seconds, 40 seconds, a minute and a half, depending how many people are boarding and paying, and if there's a wheelchair that requires a ramp usage or not. So dwell time is a component that goes into the scheduling. The average travel time, on these segments of roads, and we monitor quite a bit of that. So, but we cannot make all of these adjustments from one peak to the other every few months, because things need time to settle. That's one. Two, it takes so much time and effort to make these changes for every single trip and route. So whenever we see some drastic changes in terms of on-time performance, and we monitor it, is it a particular route, certain trips in the morning or afternoon, or maybe midday nowadays, we look into the reason. Is it the traffic, road diet? Is it the ridership, dwell times, and so on? And then we make certain adjustments in the schedules so that the buses are running more on time. But then if there are external reasons, then we need to see how we can deal with that. But typically that's the process we go through. Steve, do you want to add anything?
No, I think that covered it. Yeah.
That actually gets to the second question I was going to ask, which is about road diets and sort of the work we're doing for pedestrian safety in the city, which is by and large a very good thing, but does slow down traffic intentionally. At what point do we start looking at for us to be able to hit our headways, do we start looking at the amount of service we need to provide on some of these corridors if we're slowing down traffic intentionally to be able to meet the level of frequency that we've committed to in the corridors? Are we there yet, or are you looking at that regularly?
We had that happen on Glenway.
Okay.
So I think mid-pick, the city road dieted Glenway.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been out on Glenway, it looks great. I mean, I'm a lover of fresh white concrete. They've got curb cuts. You definitely have a safer pedestrian and bicyclist and ADA environment. So it took some back and forth with the city. My good friend Matt Hume's in the audience, but we think we've got the timing down on Glenway, but we did have to add resources, to your point, to keep the headway. And also you want a piece of work that is attractive for operators. They don't want to be ripping and running. It's busy anyway. I mean, it's 30 people an hour on Glenway all day long. So
that's helpful.
We really kind of hone in on the big ones as well.
Since we're on the topic, just one last maybe point about on-time performance. Steve mentioned that, in the 70s is not a terrible place to be for a transit system. Our benchmark is in the mid 80s, which is a really good place to be. But we're all on the same page that you don't want to be at 100%. If you're a passenger on a bus that has 100% on-time performance, that means there's so much slack in the schedule that you're probably spending a lot of time not moving, right? Because that 100% means that we've accounted for every eventuality. We've accounted for big passenger loads that get on, or passengers that need to use mobility devices, and all of those things. In order to reach 100%, we're taking the worst day and scheduling to the worst day, which means on the average day, you're spending a lot of time sitting at a bus stop waiting for your next time point to move forward. So what would normally take you 30 minutes on a regular day, and we schedule for that 30 minutes, if we make that 45 minutes, we've just added 15 minutes to your trip. 9 out of 10 days that is not necessary. So you don't really want 100% on-time performance. This is an internal metric, right? We all deal. It's just like our cars. There are some days where we get to work, in 30 minutes, and some days it's 37 minutes. So you want to be in a sweet spot there, and that's why we set the benchmark below 100 intentionally.
It is absolutely great that we're having so much conversation about OTP, and a lot of these explanations I think are really great and good things to know about. I'm wondering if there are any other variables, though. When we see express and local diving at the same rate, and we don't have a ridership change on express, is there something else going on here? I know that we have new drivers, so that may be it, traffic. But is there any other variable that is worrying you right now about OTP?
I mean, without looking at all the data, because I mean, we look at portions of our data in terms of the planning, scheduling, and so on. I think it is, one of the first reasons that were mentioned, which is, the new drivers, because we've been trying to hire so many new drivers. That would probably be the biggest factor. And it's not just, and again, this is just, speculation on my part. It's not just, we have new drivers who are not familiar with the entire network and now they have to drive these routes, but even some of the existing drivers, because we've made so much improvements to the service, adding new routes or tweaking some of the existing routes so that we have few routes that really don't look anything like they used to a year and a half ago. That's also probably a contributing factor. Again, that bell curve. But we're hopeful at least that piece will be taken care of with time, in a few months. But we're still monitoring the other aspect of it, the dwell time, the travel times, the road, the traffic on the streets, and so on.
Okay. So no other variables right now.
Yeah. I have one I'll throw out there. So a couple years ago, when we migrated our extra service into regular fixed route, historically we kept those metrics separate. So on-time performance for extra service was not even factored into our system OTP. Now we're picking up more and more kids. If you are outside of Walnut, you're outside of Withrow, you're loading kids for that first month of August. Kids may have questions. Kids may, can my brother ride? He may not have his pass. The scanner's not working. The fare machine may not be beeping. All of that kind of sort out process from a new pick will also it will drag down your OTP. So we have a lot more kids. It sounds like a lot more kids want to ride with us. So it's something we're going to have to get a handle on.
To support that hypothesis, if you look at September of 22, which would be where we're coming up, we're down towards where we are in August 23 and headed back up. So that's some good
So we might see another dip as we have a full month of student transportation and then start to come up after that. It'll be interesting to see. And I think there's a lot of interest in it because we want to have great OTP so that people love the system and ridership continues to go up. Andy, you had one more comment? Then we'll.
Good.
No, you're good. Okay.
How's we looking on time for getting kids to?
Pristine, Craig, 90%.
There you go.
Better than yellow buses.
No comment.
Well done. All right. Do we have a few more slides on ridership? I think we started midway.
Just getting started. Yeah, we can skip this slide. No, okay, that's this is a serious thing that we think about. I know it keeps me up. I know it keeps Hollett up, keeps the Chiefs up. We're still we're doing a little bit better than we were last year around this time. Fixed route missed trips, we're still at about 96-97% of all trips do go out. I wanted to share with you that in September things are looking a lot better. It's almost the 20th, and we've not hit. I don't believe we're even at 900 missed trips, which is it's terrible still, but it's better. And we're following the same trends that we had from last year. But we continue to work on this every day with missed trips. Same patterns on the next slide. You'll see generally your Sundays and your Fridays are your high marks. Monday through Thursday are pretty solid.
Sundays, I'm surprised by that a little bit. We have fewer service, we have less service with places. So we just can't get enough operators, or is it some other issue going on?
Yeah, so when we look at the mistrip data and we combine that with our workforce data, we rely upon voluntary overtime to make pull out on the weekends. And we have a lot of folks who are signing up for Saturday work and not so much. If you look at unscheduled overtime on Saturdays compared to Sundays, there's a lot more on Saturday, which means we make a lot more service. There's a lot less on Sunday, which means we miss a lot more service. So again, that's when we do these service picks every year. We readjust to make sure the board is where it needs to be. And really, the cure-all of this is operator attraction and retention, and that's a lot where our focus is right now.
Where are we in regards to that? Don't you say we hired 100 in a year?
Correct.
But where's the goal? Where we want it to be at?
The great question. We bottomed out, if you will, probably in the March-April timeframe at around 483 fixed route operators. I don't have a straight line of sight to Adrian here, so, and then as of Friday, we were at 512. So we have added a significant number of fixed route operators. We've also had to, as school comes back in, there's more service and those things. So that's why, as Steve mentioned, we're starting to see some significant improvements in September. We've added a significant number of head count to the fixed route operator ranks in the last 6 to 8 weeks. So we're starting to see that improvement on the service. So good numbers with respect to workforce retention. We're still hiring full speed.
What is the retention
On an annual basis, our turnover for fixed route operators is around 17%. So any 1% improvement in that means that we have a handful more operators, which is a very good thing. So we're focused on retention.
We have had issues with a lot of turnover in the training classes, right? That's where it's hurting us. You got to hire 20 people to get 5.
Correct. And
Training class retention rate has decreased considerably. We have seen more retention, I should say, with the trainee. We have had quite a bit more than usual with our progression and top operators for a number of reasons. So as we continue to try to retain both our trainees, which we've seen that go from about 40% down to 25%, we have to increase the efforts to retain our full-time and progression operators. So we're continuing to work on some of those programs and initiatives.
And really, statistically, in the last 3 months, those two metrics have improved. So operators are making it through training at a higher rate, and our seasoned operators are staying at a slightly higher rate, whereas the pipeline of applicants continues. We continue to hire. So that has been a steady flow of applicants and new hires. Retention has improved both in training and after training.
Do we pair our trainees with a mentee by any chance, with a more seasoned operator?
So does anyone want to talk about the training program?
So we haven't started a full mentor program per se, but what the new operator does the last 2 weeks of their training is spend 2 full weeks with a seasoned operator, just riding the bus with them giving them pointers on, okay, here's some things you might want to look out for on specific routes. We put them on a bunch of different routes because you don't know what they'll drive when they get out. So we don't have a official mentoring program, but we do pair them up with seasoned operators at the end of their training so they can begin to see what it's like and get some feedback from an operator who's been on the road for many years. They're called line instructors is what we use them for. But we're looking at what type of options we would have going forward for some sort of semi-official kind of mentoring program with our current challenges with getting work out. That's what we've got to consider.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that would be great. I just learned so much from Ms. Stephanie on Saturday, and I was thinking she has so much to offer a younger person coming up in the system. Thank you.
And we do offer that both on our fixed route and with our access drivers. So they do partner with access drivers as well when they are going through the end of their training at access.
All right, is that Metro Now slide coming up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Several. We've expanded. Metro now has more than one slide for this month. It's probably a pattern we'll continue to bring forth. But you'll see, the ridership continues to climb. This is both the Springdale and the Northgate zone. Springdale dropped in May. Northgate was in July. On-time performance is pretty good. 2,765 riders. That's doing really well. We have capacity for more. We're hitting about 40 to 50% of our projection for a completely fleshed out system. So you'll see here by day type, weekdays, Saturdays, Sundays kind of mimic what we would have in fixed route. Folks are a little more active during the week. We're seeing some nice trends later on in the evening on Saturday, early in the morning on Saturday as well. So
that's about halfway to where we want to be, but the line is
give or take. The line looks, it doesn't really show the whole projection, but so these are the combined zone average. Correct. You added in July.
It's going up a little bit. Yeah.
Northgate is Northgate is exploding. I mean, it was at 40 average, and then last month it's like at 100. It's at 100 for the first few days of September, so it's taking off. Northgate.
We'd like to be up at 200, right?
Correct.
Still feels good. I like to see those lines. All right, let's keep going.
Got maps too, Blake.
Maps? All right.
These are your most visited locations. You have a lot of a spread in Northgate. A lot of different areas are getting ridership, whereas Springdale's primarily the Woodlawn, Lincoln Heights, Kroger there on Grunegar, and Springfield Pike. Springfield Pike. Not Springdale, all these Spring.
Can we give an award to the person who lives on Martin Street who's a super user?
We do have a super user, yes. We can't share too much personal information, but yeah. So the map's on the actually next slide. It shows kind of the distribution. Most of these follow our fixed route. You'll see the Springdale, the Route 78 goes up north and south in Springdale. At Tri-County, it intersects with the 67 and the 20. A lot of good, nice ridership in Forest Park as well. Northgate, these are for August, so you'll see that Northgate primarily, it's Colerain doing a lot of the heavy lifting. You have Hamilton on the other side. And in the middle, we're still folks are still getting used to it, trying it out. But these numbers are just going to do nothing but grow. So, and we're also looking in the next couple of months of maybe modifying some of the zones as part of a phase 2, phase 1B MOD improvements. Holly, is there anything you wanted to
Yeah, I
jump
just
in
want
on?
to add something. Yeah, thanks, Steve. I mean, as you know, we introduced Northgate in July, and it just took off, with a much steeper curve than Springdale. So, and our interest is really to increase ridership as much as we can. So, looking at the numbers, our staff will be reaching out to Springdale officials just to meet with them and see what else can be done to entice more people to ride the service, whether it's just more marketing or public involvement or whatever. So we're reaching out to the Springdale city as well.
And we talked to Kroger broadly. It seems like this would be the kind of thing, hey, you got an extra 120 visits, right, to that one store. It certainly would pay for all the transportation to do it. I think it'd be interesting to engage with them to say, hey, do you want to help us support these?
Yeah.
Right? They're right here with us. Set that up.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. All right, thank you. Next.
Yep. Making notes. Access ridership. It was another great month, and access and paratransit, you see ridership is closely aligned to budget. We're over 16,000. That falls in line with our seasonal trends. You'll probably continue to see that ridership go up as the weather remains nice next couple months. Next slide. Similar to fixed route, I mean, we can basically say it's the end of COVID, knock on wood. In terms of our ridership, you'll see the trend continue to mimic what we did last year and the year before that and the fixed route. On-time performance, to our earlier discussion, did dip a slight bit from about 89, 90% down to about 87%. Yep.
On-time performance here means we're in that 30-minute window that we promised.
That's correct.
That's it.
Yes. It's somewhat different than fixed route. In terms of productivity, after a month or so off of our 2.2 threshold, we're now well above it at 2.21. The productivity, again, is passengers per hour. 2 is pretty good for paratransit. 20 is really good for fixed route. So we're hitting the 2 for access. Conversely, you'll see the cost per rider go down on the right side of this slide. That number, the bar you actually want below the orange bar, not above it. So that we're hitting that as well. Your route level KPIs are in your package for your convenience. We typically don't go over them. And that would conclude my portion here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any additional questions? All right, let's move on to something that I'm sure will be quick and easy, Cincinnati Public School contract discussion. Khaled.
Yes, good morning. All right. This is just a briefing item. Finally, we've finalized the contract with CPS. We've agreed on a 3-year contract with CPS with 2 1-year extensions. The rate per year-long pass is $350 for 7th through 12th grade, with the caveat that if more than 1,500 passes required for 7th and 8th graders, it would be discounted to $332. The contract also allows CPS to purchase extracurricular passes so that the students can use these passes after hours. If they already have an annual pass, that's set at $43. CPS can also purchase single ride tickets at $1.50, and CPS will be responsible for the printing of all of these passes that they will request. The payments will be made over 3 installments in September, January, and June of every school year. Total contract is about $2.8 million for this school year. Any questions?
So just over that rate is up a little bit from the last several years, right?
I'm sorry?
The rate per student is up a little bit from what, 315?
Yes, it used to be 315.
That's the first change in a long time. There wasn't much pushback about that.
Correct.
The other one, just so everybody's mind, this service in the old days, the extra service days, cost between $7 and $8 million, I think.
Correct.
So we're providing pristine on-time performance at a third the cost of what it used to be. So that's money that the school system would use to do other things.
Yes.
So that doesn't get much attention.
Thank you. Yeah. And just to give credit to Larry, he did 99% of the negotiations before it was turned over to me.
Any other questions?
Is it true the 7th and 8th graders are cheaper because they're smaller?
Yes. Yeah, it's less fuel.
But they're all taller than you.
Oh. Thank you very much, Solid.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So we have a few procurement items. Andy, did you want to lead us through those?
I can
Great.
set the stage, sure. I think the information was in your packet. We have both detailed action items available for review. Our first is an extension and an addition to our existing piggyback paratransit vehicle contract. We had an opportunity to identify some OTP2 grant dollars, which allowed us to procure some more desperately needed paratransit vehicles. These are access vehicles. And the second is a improvement to our access facility and fueling station to accommodate gasoline and Metro Now and all those things. Jeff is going to give us a presentation, brief 2-slide overview of the access fueling station project, and then we can consider the individual procurements after that. Jeff?
Good morning.
Morning.
Next slide there, Natalie. So
In an effort to kind of illustrate what we're doing here at Access, we put together a couple slides with some drawings from our architects at R.E. Warner. So the current state of affairs at Access is what's pictured now. It's got an aerial view of the property, and then on the right there's a drawing of the current state. And what this project started out as is adding gasoline storage to the facility, and it's now expanded into visualizing what the rest of the property can do as far as housing Metro Now vehicles there for our future fleet, future zones that we'll implement. So currently right now we're only capable of diesel storage and refueling. There's 2 fueling stations and just over an acre of unused property. If you look at the right there, the red section, that's kind of a regular lot there. That's all currently unused, basically, grass area. So in our current state, we're maximizing our bus storage, which is on the building to the left, which is all our paratransit vehicles and indoor storage. Next slide. So with the new facility upgrades, we'll be capable of diesel and gasoline refueling, which will solve a couple problems. One, currently while we explore the direction of zero emissions vehicles for our Access fleet, gasoline is kind of the direction that the industry is going. There's not a whole lot of diesel options out there, so to maintain our current fleet and future Metro Now and paratransit fleet, we have to have gasoline storage for refueling. We will also be able to refuel all of our non-revenue vehicles there as well, so we'll be able to purchase gasoline and hedge it very similar to how we do diesel to kind of save some money. This will increase to 3 fueling stations versus the 2 that we currently have. And also to the far east side of the building, the far right of the page there, we'll be able to store all future Metro Now vehicles in a basically a canopy section that can store 2 tandem vehicles. And it's an outdoor storage, but it obviously will be covered for inclement weather. This will basically maximize the entire property for bus storage right up to the property line. This doesn't change the capacity for employee parking. We're currently at 113 spaces for employees. We're filling them about halfway right now. As we expand, we're obviously going to get more employees. The parking lot doesn't change. It still has 113 spots for employee parking. And we did make sure as we worked on this project that the bus storage structure is capable of solar panels. Next year, we're going to look into putting in the budget for looking at solar for all of our properties. And while we're doing that, we wanted to make sure any kind of future construction we do, it's capable of holding that amount of weight on the roof. Any questions?
It's great to be looking forward to solar. We're also thinking as an enterprise here of alternative fuels.
Right.
How have thoughts about our alternative fuels gone into the planning of this site?
So there's going to be conduit for charging capabilities in that canopy section there. We're currently looking at, we have chargers in the indoor side of the facility when we were getting electric buses that fell through due to the manufacturer issues. So we're currently looking at that down the road, any future facilities we do, similar to what we did at Northside, putting the conduit in and the infrastructure in. So when we do get battery electric vehicles there, we're capable of putting in the chargers and the electric for it.
Any other questions? Pretty exciting to all this that's going on here. And what's the timeline? When would we see this completion?
If all goes well with pending your guys' approval today, we should have this up and running in about a year, towards the end of next year, Q3 next year.
And we can start hedging fuel and all that and do all kinds of things.
Correct.
Great. Anybody like to make a motion on this one, which is, I'm just going to go right to the action item if no objections.
This is all funded by local?
As of right now, yeah. What we typically do on a project like this, we'll work with our grants department to see if there's any kind of infrastructure funding that we can tie to this to kind of supplement it.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, for 132-2023, I've got a motion to approve from Pete. Second. Probably moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say left. Any abstentions? All right, so that passes on to the full board meeting, and I think we can probably do both items by consent unless somebody says otherwise. The other one is to get more vehicles to put in these spaces. So it is a modification. Oh, Andy, were you supposed to introduce this?
Yeah, I can do that. Sure. No, go right ahead. I mean, we had a opportunity from a piggyback contract with another transit system in Ohio, with an option to purchase up to 21. At the time that we were granted that option, we only had funding for 14. We're asking the board to give us authority to procure the last 7 vehicles that we have option to procure. We've identified funding for 3 of those vehicles. We're hopeful we'll identify funding for the second 4 vehicles as well. As you all know, our paratransit fleet is entirely exceeded its useful life, so we have plenty of buses that are ready for replacement. And this is the terms of this contract are the same as the first tranche of vehicles that we received from this piggyback contract.
With a slight modification in that we didn't account for all of the finishing costs on the first round, like some wrap costs and technology installation costs. So we're incorporating that into the not to exceed as well. So the idea is to get the first delivery, add 3 with what we have funding, and then if we get grant funding for the additional 4, then we'd order those at that time. It sounds like a really good plan.
Correct.
Are you going to address the $10,000 for the wrap, which was a question I had?
Modification is at the adjusted cost at the previous modification.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about the wrap as well. There was a question about if you look on the bottom of this first page right there, Natalie, thank you. As Blake was mentioning, these vehicles are purchased off a contract that multiple systems are buying vehicles. We have to make those vehicles specific to our operation, which includes adding the technology that is part of our network, and that's the video surveillance installation, and then also the vehicle wrap. The question was about the expense of that wrap, and spoke with Mr. Munstock yesterday about this. This wrap is different than our advertising wrap. This is the wrap that essentially needs to last the entire life of the bus.
Mm-hmm.
So the materials used are much more heavy duty and much more expensive than the advertising wraps that you see on buses, and that is why it's a little more costly than what you see in ad wrap.
That's why the numbers seemed high to me.
It's
Okay.
the same numbers we used for the first 3.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's Lake Train didn't have any of that.
Correct. Or if they did, they had their own cost and their own spec, and this is just our specific specification.
All right. So, any questions, concerns?
We had talked about
Yep.
when those came out with the wraps having QR codes and some more accessibility features on there so that people can just very quickly add and place their order or communicate directly. Is that going to be on these wraps?
These vehicles. Right. These vehicles are the paratransit vehicles for access. So these aren't Metro Now vehicles.
Maybe. Yeah, and just to add to that, the Metro Now vehicles, we do incorporate the QR code on the wrap. Any kind of future paratransit stuff we can discuss and possibly add to that as well.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the modification for 912022. Properly moved by Craig. Any seconds? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say left. Any abstentions? All right. So that passes both items onto the consent agenda for the board meeting. And I think that wraps it up unless there's new business. Rod, did you have something you wanted to talk about? Just joking around. All right. Then I move we adjourn. Yep. Oh. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Don't go. This is the fun part.
I'm on this committee. I apologize. I have a conflict, but
Big
I'm
numbers.
supportive of everything.
Is 10:04, and we will call the Infrastructure, Bike, and Right-of-Way Committee to order. And we'll start with looking at the minutes from the August 15th meeting. Are there any comments on those minutes? It was a very straightforward meeting. If there are no comments, okay. Well, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And all opposed? No. Okay. Moving on, we have two action items today, and these are continued conversations from our August meeting. We have talked for a long time about revising our contract with the city regarding the Western Hills Viaduct, and Haled is going to walk us through that revision.
All right. So back in 2021, first round of the Transit Infrastructure Fund, you approved several projects during that round, pretty much all projects, and one of them was the Western Hills Viaduct. We awarded them $205 million to be distributed over 25 years. That was the initial request. However, since then, we've been in talks with the city and the county in terms of how that award is going to be restructured. Their reasons was, mainly tied to bonding in terms of, getting bonds at better rates, et cetera, et cetera. So they wanted to shorten the period. Instead of 25 years, they want to take it down to 15 years. And this is the final contract as agreed on by, both sides, us and the city. And thanks to Andy, he played a major role in negotiating that. Basically, what we agreed on, which is on the very first page of the contract, is because this contract is being signed in 2023, for the first 2 years, we're going to stick to what we originally agreed on in terms of the award. So we're going to award them, we're going to give them $8.2 million for year one, 2021, $8.2 million for year two, and then starting this year, and for the next 12 years, we're going to give them $14.5 million. And then the last year, which would be year 15, we're going to give them $14.6 million, $100,000 more, just to complete the $205 million total. So it's the same total that the board approved back in 2021. It's just, the period has been shortened from 25 years to 15 years. I think those were the major highlights of the contract. And the staff requests, kind request from the board to approve this negotiated contract with the city of Cincinnati.
I think the other change, right, from what we've done before was that financing costs can be paid for on this project. Right? Is that a fair way to phrase that again? The original guidelines to program financing costs were not one of the eligible cost items.
So you're referring to the program as a whole?
Yes.
Correct.
So that now the way they're doing it, that some of this money can be used to pay interest on these bonds.
Oh, where it wasn't otherwise. Okay.
Right.
This is the only exception. This is the only contract that has that exception.
I just want to make sure people
Yes.
are aware.
Thank you.
because
Yeah.
there'll be
Thank you.
changes, right?
Yes.
After lots of hand-wringing over it, right? And I think the reality is they'll spend some money that could be reimbursed in front of it anyway. It's just cleaner to write it this way, but.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope.
I move.
Okay.
I
All
have
right.
some questions. Sorry.
All right. Do you want to go ahead?
I know that this talks about the priority. So one of the things that this, if the annual tax revenue was only $15 million, for instance, it would all go to this project each year, right? So this is the first 14.5, I guess, every year, right?
Correct.
14.6 in the 15th year. So that shouldn't be an issue because we're getting substantially more than that. But it is a question out there, right? That they'll always get the money first. And there has been some question I think we addressed it here, right? If the citizens of Hamilton County decided to rescind this tax, They can't?
They cannot,
Cannot.
For any of it, or just this part of it?
for any of it.
We're certain of that.
I think they amended the
ORC.
to say that. We weren't involved in that amendment
Okay, that
directly,
makes me a
but
little nervous. I make it look like that. But I think it's the right thing to do. But there's some of these things are just out there so that folks know it, right? It talks about pledging the full 25% that's for infrastructure for this project, but that's only on a sort of an annual basis, right? Because any surplus can still be spent. Right, there's language later in the contract that talks about that, right? So just some nuances that makes this kind of complicated. It's a lot of money. It's good for the community. It was the #1 project for both the city and the county. So I think all good. We just want to make sure we were protected, that we couldn't sort of throw out a bunch of money and a project never get done. So.
Yes.
The question I'm constantly curious about is, when is this going to get done? In these discussions, have they said anything about that? We have, 22 years left before the levy comes back up? Is that?
Yeah, no, it talks
And I don't mean to joke about it. I'm curious. Timeline. Has that occurred in discussions when?
the timeline came up several times in discussions. I think each time, things are taking longer than they anticipated. So they've continued to push a little bit. But I think the ultimate, I'm trying to remember, Andy, the ultimate deadline we have in here is
28 or
28.
Would know the construction commencement date is no later than December 31st, 2027. If that doesn't happen, then we'll have to revisit.
Right. So that's just the commencement date.
And
We really didn't have any interest in this agreement, and when it ends, that doesn't really affect us. So.
I realize it's not really germane to this discussion, but I'm curious about it and how it plays out over time and the completion of the project and us investing so much
I
money
can see
towards
that
it.
being very much based on how that plays out, like you said, community perception can get very skewed and be a negative on our end, when in fact, that would not be the case, so.
Yeah, so the way this agreement is written is that if the project, really the clock is ticking. This project needs to start by the end of 2027. If not, we have to revisit this agreement, and that revisiting that agreement would mean that we would need to bring that agreement back to this board. So there is a clock ticking with respect to the city and their partners to get the project moving.
Yeah.
And if the money isn't used ultimately for this project, it gets reallocated to other infrastructure projects.
Yeah, this is one we're going to be, how fast we put up the SORTA sign by the construction site, we'll be careful with. But the one I know on here, right, it still says $330 million for the project, which I know is not their current budget. So I don't know if that matters or not.
Is that in the scope of work?
Yeah, on the very last page here, it says
On the very last
total
page.
cost $330 million, which is their original number.
Yeah.
It just isn't the number they've even used lately. And my concern with them is, again, do you have all the money you need to do the project, or are we going to get partway in it?
The more you delay, the more, it doesn't vote in our favor at all.
So it doesn't really affect the project, I don't think, in terms, like the contract rather, but
I mean,
I think it's in.
that statement does actually say in excess of 330.
So 800 billion, does it sex?
And Kim, you said if the money isn't used, it gets reallocated to other infrastructure projects. Does that mean the city decides what they use it on, or does it come back to us?
It comes back through
Okay.
this TIF process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, through the
Okay.
whole process.
Yep.
Thank you.
There are a lot of hurdles we have to pass to get there, but
Yeah.
ultimately, if that happens, or if there was extra money left over,
Okay.
that is ultimately what
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we need to approve this revised contract. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved. I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, our next resolution is an approval to execute several contracts for projects that we approved last month, and Khaled is going to run us through this. And what you have in the packet is a sample contract. They're the same for every project, just changing out the name of the municipality and the amount. So
Yes.
we're going to approve all those contracts at once.
But the
Yes.
integrated committee hasn't approved these yet, have they?
No, the integrated committee has approved the, about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And before I ask for your vote on the contract, just an update. So far, we have reimbursed, the total reimbursement for the TIF program is $5.5 million. About 800,000 of those were for year 2 projects. Yeah. So they're starting to trickle in. Last month we came to you and you approved the list of projects for round 3, which what you see on the screen. We come today to ask for your approval of the contracts, as Sarah mentioned. Next slide, please, Natalie. This is the next slide. Yep. So that's the standard contract that we use for all the projects. The only thing that changes is on the first page where we put the township or the municipality's name, the project name, address, how much we're giving them, start date, end date, and all of that information. It's a standard contract, just like what we did last year. So the staff asked that you approve the contracts to be signed by the CEO or his designee.
I'll make a motion to approve the contracts as submitted.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? No? Is there a second? Oh,
I'll second.
Go ahead. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'll add just one more thing. I understand that the next signing ceremony will be sometime between November and February, and we're going to make it a big deal again.
That's the
right?
plan, yes.
That's the plan.
Were you supposed to abstain from this one? I can't remember. Maybe you weren't.
Maybe we should just.
Yeah, I did abstain from the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan meant to abstain.
I'd happily move the passage of this.
What's that?
That's okay. I can move the passage.
Yeah, why don't you
move,
Seconded by Sarah.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Got that now?
Okay. So we're going to redo that. So, yeah, go ahead. You're gonna move. Yeah. All right, and I second. Yes, and I second. Yeah. Okay, all in favor? Yes, aye.
On reflection.
Okay, thank you. Any other new business for this committee?
I just wanted to just briefly thank Kim and the team for Voorhees with their help on the Western Hills Viaduct contract update. Lots of moving parts, lots of technicalities, lots of lawyers and bond attorneys and all those things involved. So appreciate the support.
Sorry, I made that so painful.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we are adjourned.
Thanks.